done it for me was literally we were told we were having a meeting with the Welsh coach at the time was Mike Ruck, and at the Vale we ended up going to the Vale, and upstairs in one of the meeting rooms was all the CEOs of the other regions and the coaches, obviously represented from the WRU, Steve Lewis at the time, and the WRPA representative Richard Harry at the time. So, and basically there was like a cattle market where they were going through the Celtic Warriors squad and saying, well, I want him. And that's how we all worked.
And when regional rugby came into the Welsh game in 2003, you were obviously picked up by the Celtic Warriors. Firstly, how good were the Celtic Warriors?
It was a star-studded team, really, wasn't it? I think it's probably one of the best squads I've ever been part of, really, in terms of the strength and depth and just the culture and the environment which was created. And obviously only lasted a season, but do you know what I mean? It was tough that season when we were told is going to regional rugby, and I mean, there's so many players who were playing with a Ponty that literally didn't make the cut, and fortunate for me, I did. I think I was worried if I was going to become a regional player, and the day that Lynn Howell said that there's a contract there for me, I was delighted and over the moon. But I suppose the frustrating thing for me starting back at regional rugby was I wasn't fit. So that was something else which I was worried about, because I had osteitis pubescentes, which is basically formation of the pelvic bone. Yeah. So I was ruled out for a number of months, and when the actual season started, it was World Cup year, wasn't it? So it was 2003, and obviously all the international boys were away. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't take part in pre-season, so I didn't get back fit until the beginning of September, really. So the end of September. So I was late coming back from obviously the injury, but I went on and played 16 games that year, which is hell of a lot, really, for a young hooker coming through. But again, you fight in for that position, because Bev came back from World Cup, and obviously Andrew Joy, the hooker from Bridgend, was part of the squad as well. So always up for a challenge, and like you say, I had that experience of playing regional rugby, and in terms of the strength of the squad, definitely probably the strongest squad I've been part of, and some really world-class players, and even to the next steps of the academy players coming through. And even now, you think of the players which are on top of the game in Wales, a lot of those would have been part of that Celtic Warriors team if that was still here. So
basically the Grand Slam side, wasn't it, from 2005?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely. And even now, you think of the players potentially be part of that team if it was still going is phenomenal. And I know there's a lot of people still bitter about the Celtic Warriors, and I understand why. But again, it's part and parcel of the professional game, and as much as I'd love to sort of be able to have a few more seasons, or even if it was kept on going now, would have been great for obviously the Valleys. But they probably are missing out on that top class rugby, which they've been used to over the years with Pontypridd.
Do you think there should be a region up in the Valleys?
Well, that's up for debate still now. But I think in terms of history of rugby, in terms of the Cardiff Ponty, there's always been a big rivalry, haven't it? So for that to work was always going to be tough in terms of supporters, and you're never going to get Pontypridd supporters going to support Cardiff, and same as Cardiff and going to support Ponty if that was the case. So for a fact that the Valleys is a hotbed of the talent in terms of the players coming through, and I know that Chris Jones does a great job with the Rhondda Schools rugby in terms of the success they've had winning the Dewar Shield on numerous occasions, and he's got a big part to play on that. And I think he's had to change in terms of philosophy, in terms of, at the end of the day, if you come through the Rhondda Schools age groups, then it doesn't matter if you go and play international rugby, it doesn't matter if you play regional rugby, it doesn't matter if you play rugby. It's just that the path which you take after you leave. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of players who've come through who've gone on to play, experience regional rugby. There's a lot of players come through the Ronda schools is just playing local rugby, which is great. And I think obviously the success again he's had with that is massive. And look, would I like to see a professional team within the Valley? Of course I would. But again, obviously with what we've got in place at the moment, I think, you know, it's interesting how everything's going to unfold over the next sort of couple of months, even years. But probably the frustrating part about it for me is there is still talent which is missing out on becoming professional, really.
Yeah. And as a player, when the final few months with the Celtic Warriors, you know, what were the players' feelings at that time when obviously the wrangling was going on about the club disappearing?
I honestly, I can speak on behalf of probably the majority of the players, but more so myself, and then Ryan Jones, really, because we were sort of, probably, he's in the same position as me in terms of age and coming through, and obviously a talent. And myself and Ryan, we just agreed a new contract with the Celtic Warriors in the space of a couple of days. That contract was gone. There's no longer a contract, and literally we didn't know what was happening. Obviously, it was taken over by the WRU. We were told we couldn't speak to any other clubs because we were under contract still. So it was scary times, really, because at that time of the year as well, most teams have already filled up their slots in terms of positions and players coming in. So options were limited, really. And the day that sort of done it for me was literally we were told we were having a meeting with the Welsh coach at the time was Mike Ruck, and at the Vale. We ended up going to the Vale, and upstairs in one of the meeting rooms was all the CEOs of the other regions and the coaches. Obviously representative from the WRU, Steve Lewis at the time, and the WRPA representative Richard Harry at the time. So, and basically there was like a cattle market where they were going through the Celtic Warriors squad and saying, well, I want him. And that's how we all happened, worked. And I was fortunate enough to obviously pick up a contract down Scarlets. But someone like Mev, who'd been a great player for Wales and obviously a lot of experience, he ended up just playing for Neath at the time, but then obviously went over the bridge and played in Leicester and Gloucester and finished his career there. But it was tough times because for me in my position, I was only just starting out as a professional rugby player, and hookers, like, obviously they tend to sort of peak at a later age, and I hadn't really had that experience in terms of being able to demand a position, but it was a case of obviously being able to get a contract down west. And it was, I look back now and I'll never forget playing for the Ronda schools in 16s. We played a team from down in Cornwall, and I was captain that night. I played quite well that night as well, and after the game, Chris Jones introduced me to Garth Jenkins, who's up there watching.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think it was 7-8 years later, I ended up signing for the Scarlets, where Garth Jenkins was coach.
Yeah.
And still now he does a lot of scouting for them, which he's been great for Welsh rugby, all the Scarlets. But someone like him to obviously show interest and give an opportunity, that was something which I'll cherish.